everyone. Welcome to another episode of NSC Study Break. My name is Felicia and I am your host. And today I am with Ted Martinez, who is the director for the Grand Canyon semester. So he's here basically to tell us all about it and why you all should do it and be a part of it. So thank you so much for being here and doing this interview with me.
Hi, good to be here. Thanks.
So I first want to ask you what university you work at and basically the name of your program and just a little bit about it.
Yeah, well, I'm at Northern Arizona University. We're in Arizona, and the program that we offer is called Grand Canyon Semester, and that's our offering for NSC.
Wow, that's so cool. So I guess from the name that the students probably get to go to the Grand Canyon, right?
Yeah, it's a full program. It's actually been around for quite a long time. The first Grand Canyon semester was offered in 1974 as a partnership between Grand Canyon National Park, the National Collegiate Honors Council, and NAU. And the program is still offered within the Honors College here at NAU, but it's open to anybody. And it is an interdisciplinary study program on the Grand Canyon semester. I wouldn't want people to think that it's like only sciences. Later, I can tell you about the classes if you like. And it does offer something for a lot of different majors. And we tend to advertise it as a domestic semester abroad. It's kind of an oxymoron. But if you think about it this way, some of our major cities in the US may be really similar to, say, London or something, if someone goes and does a semester abroad. And so, in a sense, there's a different culture there, but it may not be that different a culture from the US. And so, when we look in the US, we may have some very different cultures within the US that may represent sort of greater immersive cultural experience. So for example, Northern Arizona may be more different than Boston is from London, if you sort of follow my logic. So we call it a domestic immersive semester abroad.
Wow. I mean, I think that's
domestic semester abroad.
Yeah, domestic semester abroad. I know being from South Carolina, I can imagine that Northern Arizona is probably very different.
Yeah.
Really cool. Yeah. So I guess the next thing I want to ask you is the program just for the fall and the spring semester, or can students do in the summer? How does the timeline kind of work?
So we do only offer a fall semester. So we have no spring offerings. And we offer in even numbered falls. So fall 2020 would be right now. We were shut down due to COVID. A lot of risks in traveling together, things like that. So we had to suspend it in this semester. So our next offering is fall 2022. So your viewers will want to plan accordingly. There will be no offering in fall 2021. We just how we do. We don't offer odds numbered years. So fall 2022 will be our next offering. But if students plan accordingly, they could plan to take it, that semester. It's a very enriching program, very transformational program, but we'll talk more about that, I guess.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, fall 2022 is a while away, but hopefully, everything works out with COVID and that it'll be able to happen, because that sucks that it wasn't being able to go on this fall.
Yeah, it would have been going on right now. But our institution, like many institutions across the country, instituted some policies that they deemed safest, and we don't want any outbreaks on our hands. So it's a close-knit program. We have our own living quarters. It's a living learning program, so students lodge together. We have apartments. We travel together. They take their classes together, and then we go out into the field. And so the university basically just shut down a lot of our travel policies. So we had to conform to that.
Yeah, that's interesting you mentioned the lodging though, because I was just about to ask if students have to find their own housing, but the fact that they can have their own housing like near campus is really good. But you just speaking of all of that, is there a certain number of students that the program admits,
We've never had to to find our upper end. We had, I think it was 15 admitted this, or no, excuse me, maybe like 16 admitted for the fall. And that sounds like a great number. We can go a little bit lower, but not much. And we could probably go up to like 20, just something that is sufficient so we can travel around in a couple of vans, have a nice, robust discussions, have a good class size where there's not too many people, but not too few to have really good discussion.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, that's good. And I think it's also really cool too that you say that there's not like a major specific requirement. It's very interdisciplinary. So I guess you could have someone who's a very like hard science major, like chemistry or biology, and then maybe someone who is a political science major, maybe English, history.
Yeah, we've had fine art majors. The Grand Canyon, is it's a muse for people around the world. So fine art majors, we learn about. I guess I'll just tell you the courses now. I keep hemming and hawing about it. So there is a humanities course. So we learn about the art and the literature of the Grand Canyon. There is an environmental science course, so of course the ecology. There is environmental policy, so policies that involve endangered species, management of lands, management of the park. One of the funner courses people find is an anthropology course, because the Grand Canyon is very rich in human history as well. So people think of the Grand Canyon as a geologic feature, but the human elements around the Grand Canyon are just amazing. So people come out learning a lot about the peoples of the Southwest and their history. And then the final course is an independent study course. And in that course, people do an independent research project that they can often transfer back to their universities for capstone credit. Most of the classes are liberal studies classes, so they can be transferred back. So we want people to be able to, of course, use those credits. And so in their independent study, they get to go really deep in a subject that they're interested in, whether it's people, art, photography, history. The history of the Grand Canyon and the explorers who went there is very rich. And so whatever a person decides on that semester, they use their independent study course to go deeper on that. And that usually always transfers back to capstone credit back at their home institution. So those are the 5 courses. It is preset. We don't really mix that up because we want people to go through as a cohort. So sometimes we do lose some applicants because of that. They say it's too restrictive or it's not the credits they need. And it is also a little bit of it is a honors semester, but is also an outdoor learning semester. So this is where it gets really interesting, is you don't need to have any experience being an outdoors person, but we can't learn about the Grand Canyon unless we really go out there. And so we make trips, we camp out in the field, we meet with stakeholders, we meet with indigenous tribes, we meet with indigenous people who are on the land. It's really amazing. We meet with park rangers who are managing the resource. And we get to really learn what's on the ground. Sometimes the indigenous people do not feel represented in the Grand Canyon. Park rangers are trying to do their best to represent, and sometimes it doesn't work. But there's challenges in the field managing endangered species that are in the canyon, to have habitat for those species, but also be allowing people to recreate. We don't want to close down the Grand Canyon. And so we do camping. We actually do backpacking. It's not required, but if you want, you can go on a 4-day backpack trip in the canyon. It's really life-changing. And even a Colorado River trip, if you can imagine that, whitewater rafting. So it's kind of a good offer for the price. Some of these activities are very expensive, but it's part of our program. So once you pay the admission, the enrollment fees, then it's part of the program. So those are some of the elements that are in the program and the classes. And it's a total of 17 unit semester, I believe. So it's very encompassing.
That is really cool. I know that here in South Carolina, I'm in the Honors College and we have our own research that we have to do. But of course, we're nowhere near the Grand Canyon. So I think it's really cool for the students there in Northern Arizona having that opportunity, but also for students like me who are from really far away, having the opportunity to go there. And I like how you say how they get to learn about the literature of the Grand Canyon because, I think a lot of us just think of it as like just the earth. and we don't think about the human aspect of it. And then you mentioned the indigenous people there. I think that's really cool. I studied in Puerto Rico for NSC, and I had the opportunity to learn a lot about the people indigenous Puerto Rico, and I feel like it was so life changing. And I think it's kind of the same thing you say. I'm sure for the students who do the trip, I'm sure their life has changed having the opportunity to communicate with those people and hear their story.
Yeah,
Wow.
agreed.
I feel like you kind of mentioned all the highlights, but my next question was going to be, what are some highlights of the trip? So are there any others you could think of? Because I feel like you already said so many cool ones.
Well, I saw your question, so let me tell you about the area. There are some kind of misconceptions about Arizona, as people think that it's a desert only. It does have a desert at the south of the state in Phoenix, and it's over 100 degrees. But at the northern part of the state, get this, our elevation is 7,000 feet above sea level. I'm in the mountains right now. And so I just want to clear that up. A lot of people don't know that, is that the northern part of the state, our campus is at 7,000 feet, and the Grand Canyon is at 7,000 on the south rim and 8,000 on the north rim. It's really high. We're in a big forest. There's mountains. Our peaks go up to 12,000 feet here. It kind of looks like Colorado. So the northern part of Arizona is situated in what's called the Colorado Plateau, which is why it resembles Colorado more than it resembles southern Arizona. So I just wanted to clarify that. People tend to think of Arizona as just having cacti. It does, but we have a big pine forest too. So we're at 7,000 feet. There's a big forest. We get 4 seasons. If you come in the fall, by December, there will be snow. So that's kind of exciting. We are just about an hour away from the Grand Canyon. So we do spend a lot of time there, and that is exciting. Some of the key features are backpacking trips, camping trips, whitewater rafting trips. A lot of people do find we have 2 reservations that are adjacent to us, peoples who have a very long history here, the Navajo people and the Hopi people. The Hopi people, as a point of interest, have never been relocated. They are on the land that they've occupied for over 2,000 years. They were never relocated and sequestered to a different area. So when you visit a home, they still live in rock homes. These homes and dwellings and kivas have been habitually maintained and occupied by people for millennia, and it's really moving to visit folks and to learn from them. So a lot of people consider that a program highlight. We do study the Colorado River, which flows through the Grand Canyon, and we follow it all the way into Mexico. In the past, we have gone into Mexico to meet with people who are managing the river there. The Colorado River flows into Mexico. It's regulated by the United States, but Mexico is doing a great deal to restore their habitat. We visit with our partners there. There's a scientific partnership between the US and Mexico that is very rich because the 2 countries share that resource, and so they bond over the management of the Colorado River. And so we actually go down there and visit with them, and sometimes we bring out some paddle boards and do some paddling. It's really fun. So it's a little bit of an adventure program as well as being really academic too. So I hope I'm selling it.
It sounds great. It literally sounds kind of like the best of both worlds, kind of what you said. Very academic, but then you get to go water rafting. You get to go to Mexico. You get to see the Colorado River. Like, it literally sounds like the absolute best of both sides. I mean, I would go if I literally was not going to have graduated all 2022. I would go because I'm like, gracious, that sounds so cool.
Well, we hire resident directors. So if you need it, if you're looking for something in 2022, look us up. I'll tell you, our web, we can be found pretty easy from the NEU website. Just go to NEU Honors, and then in the different programs in Honors, you'll see Grand Canyon semester. But the address is neu.edu/GCS. But even if you go to NEU Honors, you can find it under student experiences, and we have a website there with lots of information.
That's good. It's easy to find. So I just have a few questions about, I guess, how students can get involved. So I guess my first question is, you mentioned that it is like with the honors program. So for students from other universities, do they need to be in the honors program at their school as well to do this?
They don't. If a student is in their honors college, they need no other criteria credentials. They will sort of meet our criteria. If you're not in the honors college, then we ask for one letter of academic recommendation to say that you have the chops, you have the skills to be, in an interdisciplinary honors environment. So that's all. We just want to make sure you're ready, and so they do not have to be a member of an honors college.
Okay, that's good to hear. And I guess my last question, which kind of ties into that, do you have any recommendations for students who are going to apply to this program to maybe give themselves an advantage, or for students who will already have gotten in, anything you recommend they bring, or just like how they can prepare themselves better?
So, we do have a couple essay questions that you have to answer. So take a look at those on the website. And we're just looking for the best fit. We're just looking for a student that has a spirit of adventure, who wants to get something out of this, who's looking for that transformational experience, maybe taking the next step towards doing independent research, who's interested in the Southwest, who likes interdisciplinary studies, who can see the relationship between environments and humans, or humans and health, environment and health, art. So that's we're looking for students who are ready for that type of challenge. And then I guess other than that, I would say you can see the class offerings on our website as well. And so maybe if in a year and a half that you're going to apply, maybe save off that anthropology course. Don't take it. Maybe don't take that humanities course at your own institution, because we do get applications of people who are really interested, but then say, I'm only going to be able to transfer back one of your courses. I've already taken all the others, or I've fulfilled these liberal studies requirements. So our science class counts as a lab science at our school. I know a lot of schools have a lab science requirement. So maybe just plan a little bit, or look at those courses, and maybe you could make a decision to take another liberal studies requirement and save that, so that if you do come, you get the most transfer credit to help your progression. So that would be my only other suggestion, is think of your progression.
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion. I feel like that's a very determining factor for students to do the NSC program, whether or not they can transfer credits back. I know that was a big concern for me. So I definitely think for students holding off, like you said, on a lab science, because I feel like that experience would be a much more fun lab science than a traditional one at school. So
yeah.
But thank you so much for doing this interview with me and answering these questions. And to everyone watching at home, I hope that you guys were really interested in everything we said. I think the Grand Canyon semester sounds so fun. And I think if you all have the opportunity, you should definitely do it. And whatever platform you all are on, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, make sure you follow and subscribe to the NSC program. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time.